mean, because I think all the goals are similar, and it's just that, we have to go about it in different ways. And yeah, I think they're all tied together actually. And it's kind of cool that, we can use each other's resources. And, for example, Kaya and I have shared our ideas, and I've used some of hers. And so, I think it's amazing that it's a different title, whatever movement we're trying to work with, but it's for the same goal, to see this group of this population overcome all the obstacles that are being thrown in their way.
I would agree with that. There's not much new to say. I would say one of my indictments, though, would be that sometimes social justice organizations are very bad at talking to one another and collaborating and coordinating. And maybe we're not all working on the same thing, but like Kenya said, most of them are related, or achieving one will help further the other, or give strategic incentive to achieve the next one. So I think that there could be a lot more conversation, a lot more collaboration on these things.
Yeah, to go off that, for instance, with the Palestinian issue, I mean, the links are there just with the racial struggle, with we have the immigration, the refugee, all these different struggles. I feel like Palestine sometimes can be a little microcosm of some of these larger issues at play, but at the same time, finding that disconnect and the connection here on the ground in the United States can be hard to articulate to both people advocating for justice on any issue, as well as seeing the links between these struggles. One of our, for instance, as we look around the boycott, divestment, sanctions movement, it's a way this Palestinian civil society is called on the international community to achieve justice. One of their major boycott targets is HP, Hewlett Packard. But that's also a huge boycott. We have a target here at home within the prison industry, and along the border they provide a lot of the security intel for these things. So we're already seeing these links, physically, as well as the tear gas used in Ferguson is the tear gas that's used in Palestine. So not only are these intellectual and academic theoretical links, but they are physical links happening. One issue that I think can be difficult, though, in terms of also coalition building and finding our links here on the ground, is the national movements that we're all a part of, whether that's Black Lives Matter, immigration, environmental justice, and sometimes larger theory coalitions are being built, which is great, but then to somehow make that connection happen on the ground locally here in Des Moines, I think is something we can really everyone has spoken to this about increasing the communication amongst our movements just here. We could all benefit from it.
I feel that in this work, if you have a heart for something, you're going to have a heart for something else. Of course, so seeing injustice, of course you want to dive right in to whatever it may be. But I feel like, if anything, respecting what someone is doing and then putting in your efforts as best as you can so that you're not depleting yourself completely, just that solidarity, if anything, I feel has helped me so much. And that sense of community, going back to that, it's overpowering, to see someone who may not be working on the same thing that I am working on, but is willing to, talk about it and be there and stand in that solidarity, and also talk about it with people within that association group, whatever that might be. I keep touching on it because it means so much to me, the community, and making sure that you let things be its own entity, but still have that heart for whatever it may be.
I think to just expand on that a little bit more, all of you are looking at systems of oppression that exist in our society. Do you think that there could ever be a way that justice for immigrants could exist without justice for Black people in America? Or are these struggles so linked that we need a movement altogether in order to kind of change the system that it all exists within? Does that make sense?
In short, no, I don't think it's possible at all to say that we can have justice in one area without ensuring justice in another area. For example, Josh is working to end privatized prisons, but it's impossible to address the problem of privatized prisons without addressing the fact that there were more black men in prison than there were enslaved in 1860. Like, those two issues are so connected that we cannot have justice on one without justice on another. For example, another issue, environmental justice. Environmental issues like pipelines leaking or whatever, trash, those impact poor communities more than they impact rich communities. We can't talk about the divide between the rich and the poor without talking about the environmental impacts too. So, yeah, that's super important to talk about having justice for all and not just justice for one group.
Yeah. I agree with him.
There's
I just
a
think
noise
it's impossible, and
downstairs.
I think it's, like, I think you said it, if you have a heart for something, you have a heart for other, and I think, when we all come together and, you see different people working on an issue that isn't really affecting them, it has a bigger, impact, and I think that's how we're gonna get justice for all of these issues that we're working on, and, I'm just, talking about it from the immigration problem. If you only see Latinos advocating for themselves, no one is going to see that it's important. No one's going to see that they are being oppressed or something. But if you have people from different backgrounds seeing this as an important issue, I think that's when we can get further into it.
To kind of expand on that for the rest of you, I think sometimes working in social justice, you can tend to get a little bit pigeonholed into what your issue is. How do you motivate your peers in your various communities to remember to look outside their primary interests to work towards justice in other areas as well?
I think that when progressive movements, by and large, start to operate autonomously and independently, the whole thing sort of comes off the rails. The abolitionist and women's suffrage movements were linked up until right before the Civil War, when white women said, well, we don't believe in slavery, but we're kind of racist. And African-American men said, well, we'd like to vote, but we don't really want you to vote because you're a woman. And then it took another 60 years for women to get the right to vote.
Yeah. I was going to actually use exact example. I was going to get building up that. Just like Audre Lorde, black feminist philosopher, she said, you cannot use the master's tools to dismantle the master's house, meaning like also looking forward as we are taking apart these systems and these structures of oppression and injustice, thinking of when we rebuild them, are we going to we have to address patriarchy where it's at in every single movement. We have to address oppression where it's at in every single movement, and class, and environmental struggle, and everything else that's at play, because it all, there's an Italian saying actually that all knots come to the comb, meaning if we don't work these things out, we're just going to basically rebuild this master's house in a different, with a different paint color, pretty much.
Yeah, and everyone's basically said everything, but I just feel like being willing to do so, to bridge, what we're working towards together, that's important.
I feel bad you're
Like reverse,
If we want to start at the other end, what has excited you about your movement recently, and what is giving you hope for the future of social justice and activism in your various areas?
Well, knowing that what me and a few people set out to do a week after Mike Brown was dead has become a movement. Knowing that there is now a movement, people are moving, people are talking, people are, going to jail for these things. People are willing to stand up in their classrooms, in their households, and let this be a movement that has, if anything, that language. We sit in class in high school, and we read the history books, and we read about the movements. We might be fortunate enough to hear stories from our grandparents talk about these movements, but it was never ours, and now it's something that is ours, and it's ours now, and I feel like people are willing to attach themselves to a movement when there is something tangible, that tangible movement, that has been it.
I think I've said it like 5 times. I just hear this right here. I mean, as the power of this, of all of our movements, when we're starting to see this, in the mass media. I mean, as much as the mass media is to me, but we had Reka Basu cover the Palestinian women speakers here. That's That's crazy. Or the Omaha World Herald covered this issue in a way that isn't convoluted, and it's manipulated into a way that's not the truth. I mean, the truth is starting when the truth gets into mass media. So what's going on here? And to see this that we all right here, can have this discussion, and I don't know, it's amazing to me.
I'm actually going to take your issue on this one and say that something that inspires me is that Netanyahu seems to have overplayed his hand here in the United States, and Americans are actually paying attention. And I am pleased that he seems to have underestimated how much Americans actually care once they're actually paying attention and educated about the issue. So that makes me happy.
I think what excites me, I think that dreamers are now doing a lot more, and becoming a voice for those who are still living under the shadows. And there's actually it's not a movement, but this is something that we're identifying ourselves with. Even though we have DACA, per se, a legal status, our movement is undocumented and unafraid. So it's very exciting seeing all these dreamers doing different things, and because my passion is, advocating for higher education among Latinos, and there's others who are, going and confronting potential candidates for presidential candidates, because it all ties together. So I'm seeing, just on Twitter, seeing how many different movements are going on in California, even here in Iowa. It's exciting, and it gives me hope that we're going to get to our goal a lot faster.
What excites me is seeing people be able to be themselves, especially students who are so young. They need that confidence to be able to be who they really are. And when we talk about breaking down these walls of oppression, we get to see students become who they really are, be confident in who they are and their identities. Something that we talk about a lot is safe spaces. So we have to make safe spaces for students so they can be who they're intended to be, who they want to be. Because a lot of the times those spaces just don't exist for students. And so when we can make a safe space, a particular space, safe for students, for conversations like this, for people to be themselves, they take that space with them elsewhere, and it gives them confidence to really do other things. And I think that's the most, that gives me a lot of hope, to see people be really happy with who they are.
Yeah, that's great. I have a little bit of a self-interested question for all of you. As a journalism student, I see how traditional Western media can sometimes manipulate basically every situation that all of you are passionate about. I'm curious to hear what your opinions on traditional Western media are, and how you would like to see it change and shift the conversation. And maybe, you guys aren't experts in media, but what ways you think that could happen, and how that conversation could change in media? Because I'm kind of of the belief that if you change what everyday people that don't really know that much about it are hearing every day on the news, that just educates them further and will make them more aware about the issues that they don't know are existing within our society. So if maybe you guys could talk about the struggles you've had with traditional media in the United States. Go ahead.
Well, I feel like you need to do it yourself. I feel like it's sad, but I haven't been able to really do a lot of media. I don't know if a lot of you have heard about a man who was lynched in Mississippi. They pulled up his felony records, before they went and described anything, and said that it was a suicide before lynching. But they didn't pull up Darren Wilson's mom being a mass thief and burglar and whatnot. Just making sure that we get out and do what we need to do to not disrupt, but go over the stuff that they perpetrate, and making sure that people know what's real, because it's hard and it can be distorted, and it gets distorted. So I know that once Michael Brown was, it got out to the media, a week after the shooting, a whole week afterwards, there was a kind of like an online going on where Twitter and Tumblr just blew up. And for me, being on those sites, comments and seeing that people, were going hard at it to make sure that people knew and corrected the things that they were seeing, on the couch with their parents, on CNN and Fox, making, young people who care about these things, they had to, watching them go over and correct these things and not being afraid to, do so. I think it's in our hands, sadly.
I would agree completely. Holding the media accountable, both I think not depending on the mass media to get the truth out, but that doesn't mean I don't think turn a blind eye to the mass media. It means we still have to pay attention because they are influencing the masses. So yeah, exactly. Correcting them, writing letters to the editor, never giving up, as well as though providing our own media, our own sources, blogs, Facebook, every outlet that we have we get our hands on.
I would say a lot of this is our fault because the crap that they put out, we tend to eat up and circulate. There's a reason Fox News has the highest ratings of any media organization ever. And, I mean, it's not like this is a new problem. Even Edward R. Murrow had to interview Johnny Carson multiple times so he could go after McCarthy. Media is driven by ratings, and we are the ones that give them these ratings. So if we stop tuning into Fox News or stop buying these sensationalized crap that they put out, then maybe they would actually be held to journalistic integrity.
I think that's a really excellent point because the media is driven by ratings, and that goes along a lot with what the Governing Under the Influence tells you, that you do vote with your dollars, and you as a consumer do choose those things. So I think that's a good point.
I'd say I agree with everything you guys say. I think a change that I would like to see is for the Latino community to get more coverage on certain things that don't necessarily aren't about the undocumented immigration issue. For example, I think just this year we've had 3 Latino individuals killed by cops, and you haven't seen anything about it. And it's because, I think they pick and choose what they tell the media about, what kind of news they like, they want to broadcast or something. It's usually all about undocumented individuals. And it's, there's other things that are going on, and there's other things that we're being successful about, and it's not there. And I think it's with all the issues too, and I think that's a change that I'd like to see, that, I want them to see us as with the same importance level that they give everybody else, because I think that, even then we're still being underrepresented and they're not taking us into account.
Going off of what they all said, like Dr. Ramani, when he came, I think it was 2 weeks ago, he stressed the importance of controlling the narrative for our groups, and how we can't rely on the media to accurately say or represent what we're doing. And so that kind of goes with the fact that youth are consuming social media in general, but social media especially, more than any other generation. Like, this is all new, but we are latched onto it. We are constantly seen with phones in our hands, and we're constantly being fed something by corporations or whatever, and we don't really know where it comes from. So really important to me is embracing that idea of spreading things and making memes and things like that are accurate and that are hopefully more influential to students and youth than what they're reading or what they're watching on the news.
Thank you. Okay, so at this time, I want to thank you all for your responses, and I want to open it up to the audience if anyone has any further questions.
If you have any questions, please put them into the chat and I'll read them aloud. I just asked my viewers to, if they have any questions, to put them into my Ustream channel chat, and then I would read it aloud.
Does anyone have any questions right away? I might ask another question then, if you want to think a little bit more. Another question about the media. I know specifically with undocumented immigrants and with Palestinian issues, there's an issue in the media about what type of language is used in reference to those issues. How would you like the media to refer to your issue that you're passionate about, and what types of words would you like to see the media use rather than the more biased terms that can be used to shape it in one way or the other?
Well, for me, seeing Black people as humans, growing up, I'd always get really frustrated with our local television networks when they're reporting things on the news. It's always, they're very demeaning, very degrading, and they make no, it's almost without hesitation. And it's almost, well, I feel like with the man that was hung, they killed him twice, that's what it is. It's just another killing when they get on the media and they make sure that they go straight for someone's flaws, and overlook the fact that the person was wrongfully killed, and then the justifications of why the person was having marijuana in their car, killed on the street for being on the sidewalk, It is frustrating. So yeah, for us to be seen as human, and then also changing that language. And there's a study that I read about today, an article where it's kind of evident for me at least, but they kind of make sure that they put things regarding African Americans and Latino people at the forefront before anything else, and they overdo it. And it just bothers me. It's just, making sure that,
Humanity is respected.
yes, yeah.
Just with the Palestinian issue, the confronting that, we have trigger words that dehumanize on all of these issues. The people that are being oppressed, the people who the injustice is occurring against, whether they're termed, criminal, racist, or terrorists, not racist, terrorists. I'm thinking of the other people who's racist, discriminatory, but also, and then not being afraid to use the words the real words when they, to be courageous with our words. I think we're at a point where we tiptoe too much and are trying to be, even with each other, too delicate about some of these issues. We never get to the core. It's time to have these messy conversations. It's not pretty. We don't really have the language sometimes, and we have to be courageous enough to know that that's okay. And we're going to mess up. We're maybe going to offend one another in these conversations, but we have to work through this, because if we limit ourselves with the fear of language, we're never going to get anywhere. And also the framing of these issues, so like just Israel-Palestine, for instance, got the war on Gaza. It was, Kathleen and I talked about this frequently last summer, was Israel had a right to defend itself. Israel, it's what we saw everywhere in the media. Israel had a right to defend itself. You never once heard that Palestine also had a right to defend itself. So it's reminding people, like, hey, that this isn't happening in these conversations. Why? So yeah.
Mine would be, them shirking their corporate donors and actually reporting on things that were occurring. But in lieu of that not happening, to kind of go off the framing thing, a specific example that comes to mind is how the media is always talking about the rise of Islamic extremism and the rise of terrorist groups, but we can't talk about the fact that there are more patriot groups since Obama became president, which means groups like the Klan, that we never talk about ever. And there are more of those than at any other time in American history.
For me, it kind of goes along with what Kai said, and it does hurt humans' dignity. And I say that from personal experience, because growing up, I came to the United States when I was 11, and that's when, they were really talking about immigration reform, and that's when a lot of people started finding out that there were people here undocumented. And so I grew up hearing, this word illegal. And for a very long time, it wasn't until I graduated high school that I learned that that's not right. No human being is illegal. The action of what we have done might be illegal, but we're not illegal as human beings. So I grew up with that mentality. I grew up feeling bad about myself. I grew up thinking that I was a criminal, I was an illegal alien, and because those were the words that the media were using to describe me. And I let for 8 years, I described myself using those words too. And like I said, it wasn't until someone brought it up to my attention, and it made sense. And, I see fifth graders, identifying themselves the same way that the media is using those words to identify them too.
Specifically about language, something that really irks me is when we take adjectives for people and we turn them into nouns. So it's really easy to stop referring to black people as black people and just have them be blacks. It's a lot easier to just stop talking about gay people and refer to them as just gays. Things like that are ultimately dehumanizing because it takes away from a multifaceted person who is many things and just reduces them to one thing, and it makes it easier to other them and oppress them. And I mean, that's just not even happening in just the news, but it's also happening in like sitcoms, things like that. It's not just, it's like I said, it's ultimately dehumanizing because it makes it super easy to just throw someone in a box without even acknowledging their humanity. And so that, for me, I would love to see the media stop referring to people by their adjectives and refer to them as people.
Well, yeah, go ahead.
First of all, just a note of praise for all of you folks. I admire each of you, and I really appreciate all that you've shared tonight. And great questions too. So, a lot of us, myself included, have been doing this work for a long time, 30 years, 40 years, 50 years. Some people have been around, activists been doing it a long time. What's your advice to older activists and to organizations, established organizations that have been around a long time? What do older people and older organizations need to know in order to be better allies with youth activists?
And better mentors. I would like to tag on to that. How can we be better mentors for you?
Can I take this
Yeah,
one?
go ahead.
My experience tends to be that the older you get, the more teenage-like you become, and that you assume that you're right about everything.
I guess I'm in trouble.
And so bridging that gap and on both ends, learning how to talk to each other and share experiences, and again, on both ends, not assuming that you're always right.
Kind of to piggyback a little bit on that too is I think it helps, especially with university or campus-led movements, kind of where the hub of all movements are, is to the understanding that students graduate obviously, so they have new leadership that comes in. So it takes, I think, a conscious effort to be like, okay, keeping tabs, who's the current, whoever, leader, movement builder, whatever on the campus. And the acknowledgement of, okay, that person's going to graduate, so who also is, an underclassman to them, and making sure I'm not going to we kind of idolize or put certain activists as kind of the rock stars of the movement, and we forget that, hey, well, we focused on them. We all know that one person's name that, stands for Palestine or stands for whatever, and we didn't know anybody else. So when that person goes away, we don't have anyone else to contact. So it takes that communication, I think, but also you share a lot of wisdom. So within the Palestinian movement, we are really struggling at a national level of students right now. We have a huge divide in our movement that lasted 5.5 hours in Boston in a town hall meeting of us, pitting kind of one against another with structural issues of capacity and where our movement is going and how are we both autonomous and supporting one another. And actually, we're learning a lot from the MECHA group on forming a council of elders and to pass down generational wisdom, because that's incredibly valuable to all of our movements. And we as youth too, I'm including myself as a youth right now, but we also can't forget that there is, as much as they are, we think sometimes we need that. Why reinvent the wheel? Kind of on some of these things. So it goes both ways, I think.
Yeah, since a lot of the time we have to ask permission from adults to do things, we had to ask permission to have our love rally back in January when the Westboro Baptist Church came. We had to ask permission to even have our our posters up, things like that. So it's super important to like support students first, support the youth first in what they're doing. If a youth comes to you and says, hey, I really want to get involved with this, don't say, well, that's silly. Like, I mean, I'm not saying that you do that, of course, but like, just support them first and then offer advice second, I think is super important. Because I promise I want to hear, like, I want to sap of that wisdom that our elders have. But at the same time, I want to get out and do it too, you know? So just try consciously to like take down the roadblocks that exist for us.
I'd like to add on to that too, is know that you're not going anywhere. Like, this is still your fight. Like, we still need you, you know? You can't go anywhere. You know, a lot of times I hear older people say, well, I'm going to just pass it down to you because I'm getting older. You got to stay in it with this. And like what they were saying, we need that wisdom, but we also need for you to just sit down and hear us out a little bit, but still know that you can't go anywhere.
Lastly, I think we're going to talk about the mentorship.
I have a question.
Oh, 1 second.
Oh,
I'm gonna
sorry.
let her finish. Then I'll let you.
To kind of go along with the mentorship, I have a lot of ideas all the time. They come to me. And I think the best mentors that I've had are the ones who tell me, Kenya, you're not being realistic. You need to look at this way and this way. And I appreciate that. I appreciate that, you know, they're so honest with me and they let me know but maybe the way that I'm approaching it might be a little bit harder, and then maybe there's an easier way because of their experience. And I think, you know, I appreciate all criticism, and I think it's being, you know, you as a mentor or anyone in the room is, you know, building that relationship strong enough that you can tell them, you know, because I think we just want to run. We always just want to run. And that's great, but we also need to be, you know, like I said, realistic. And I think older mentors bring that to us.
You can go ahead now. Your question.
Oh yeah, no, I was gonna say, someone told me about, you know, boycott. I never heard of it. I would like to share a little bit of experience that I had as a student. I was in Iowa State for 2 days, believe it or not. And part of that is because I started a research on solar energy. I'm doing that about 8 years from now. 8 years. Very thing. And I don't mean to sound arrogant by any means, or this is just what happened to me. And I went there because I wanted to take a class in astrophysics that I thought it was going to help me. But prior to that, I already had, you know, a really load amount of information going on, and I wanted to see it from my stuff, synchronize it with that stuff because I needed more understanding. But that didn't quite work very good. So I felt and I saw it that what the information that I was receiving, it was sending me the opposite way, backwards. And so I went, you know, I didn't really like it, so I went and asked for the money back. But before I went and asked for the money back, I went to talk to the dean and he said, you know, I have you know, quite a bit of experience now doing this and stuff like that. I would like to, you know, and basically he gave me a couple of negative questions, but you know, through my research in solar energy, and I'm still doing it. I was just working on 10 minutes ago before someone sent me a text and said about this. You know, I have looked into history, into, you know, religion, you know, civilizations, anything, because it took me there, you know, and I found out that every knowledge, you know, when you go far enough, you know, it kind of rebounds back to you. You know, it takes you, you know, back to you. I mean, you know, you go search far enough and then you're just like, boom, you're there. You know, it's like a full circle. You come into a full circle with knowledge. And so part of that, it really, you know, woke me up. And I started looking into law. I started going into law, and basically, like she was saying about, I was in the legal alien, and I started, I'm from Ecuador, by the way, and, I started looking into third world countries, like Africa, Ecuador, Colombia, all of these places where, people are, going and people try so hard to support the economic system. People try, unconsciously or consciously, they try to support the economic system, the consumption part of it, because there is nothing else out there. And so that really struck me, and I started looking into law and I find out that what actually happens in the world, this is not just and I hope I'm not, misleading your point. I just, I thought I would share this with you guys. What I actually found out is that there's two things in the world, two creatures, I call it. There's a legal system, the statutes, or, where everything comes from, and there is also common law, cosmic law, and the laws of the universe. And people talk about the stuff, the metaphysical part of it, whatever, like people say, most people, have doubts about it and all of these things. But here's what happens. That through all of this, I find out that, we use words. We use words to communicate, to study, to do many things. We do many things through words. But we don't actually know what they really mean. How words are composed. Who is the architect of words? Because this, is like a building. That's how words are created, sentences and everything. What symbols mean, and all of these things. We don't really know, but we use it. And I told a friend of mine, I said one day, I said, look, man, this is really struck with me, because this is like trusting your house to a thief. You tell to this thief, look, watch for my house. I'll be right back. The minute you come back, the house is empty. So my question was, why do we really know? If we use words to study, to communicate, to do many things, to sometimes cause fights, and people fighting each other, but we don't really know what they mean. We don't focus on it. We don't, that's like an empty plate. You see what I mean? And
is this something you would like them to respond to?
No.
It sounds a little bit philosophical.
Yeah, exactly. I just wanted to share my experience with you guys, and I want to stop right there. Just I want to, send a little bit of message, and I would like to become a part or something if I can, to share some more information that I have. No, this is just an experience. There's nothing for you to respond or anything like that. I'm not asking you questions. I just wanted to share with you guys, because now I'm, an independent student. I found out that actually education is free. You can actually educate yourself completely free. You don't have to pay for anything. So, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We appreciate you being here, and when we break up, there'll be time to just kind of stand around and have some words and visit with people.
Thank you.
I had a question. It's funny, I was going to ask the very same question John asked. It has something to do with age, huh? But what I'm going to ask you now is if any of you, I like the way you all talked about solidarity and working together. If any of you have events coming up that you want to share with each other and with our audience.
Yeah, that's really great.
Know that there'll be some stuff coming up as soon as getting warmer out.
Yeah. Are you calling it protest season?
Exactly what it is for us. Come in, beware, be ready.
And be a part.
Yeah, be a part.
Find you.
Right. I'm on Facebook. That'll probably be the best way to get to me, through Facebook. And I can link you to some groups on Facebook that are kind of linked together with these type of things. You're more than welcome. I think we all have Facebook. That's how we have to connect. It's on Facebook. Yep, I'd be more than willing to.
That's what I was going to say. The best way I think is to just sign up on decided
Yeah.
right there, as opposed to 5 of us throwing in individual information. at every person.
Well, I mean, I guess I was asking, are there established groups that people can be searching for, so, yeah,
Okay,
on these issues? Just like kind of some keywords that help people find you guys.
right. I know that Amos is working on racial profiling of it, trying to get stories of those who have
That is
racial profiling
AMOS.
as well as CCI, they're doing stuff on that. CCI also does stuff with
Citizens for Community Improvement.
those are the groups that I've been working with, and we're doing stuff.
You sometimes post on the White for Racial Justice.
Yeah, the Voice for Racial Justice, thank you.
That's a Facebook group.
Yeah, the Des Moines Student Activism Network has a Facebook page. We don't update it too regularly, but whenever we have a big event coming up, we do post updates. It is aimed more towards students, so adults might be a little out of place.
Would you mind a live streamer joining?
Yeah, like you can like our page and just keep updated on what we're doing. So tomorrow, actually, we have an informational meeting on the Bakken Pipeline. A member of the Bakken Pipeline Resistance Coalition is coming to talk to a bunch of students. So that'll be exciting. There's actually also a petition in the back that you can sign to voice your grievances about the pipeline. And there's also information on how to file a complaint with the Iowa Utilities Board. So yeah, and we also we're planning a lot of stuff. Like I said, we're planning a Trans Awareness Week for sometime in May to just.
Close drive, right?
We're planning on having a clothes drive. There's actually tonight at the same time. There's like a gender experience over at Drake that they're doing. But so just keep your eyes open on Facebook, and we'll be sure to communicate those messages.
Same. I actually think I know most of you here. But we have a Facebook page too, so if you just like governing under the influence on Facebook, I think that's the easiest way to keep up with what we're doing.
There's a Des Moines for Palestine group. You can sign up for AFSC's Middle East Peace Education Project. We have monthly meetings as well as our next event will be right here featuring Rabbi Grant Rosen. He's our regional director as well as a huge leader within the Palestinian advocacy movement. He'll be speaking here this Thursday at 7 o'clock. All are welcome to join. It will be a really inspirational function.
And as far as a national-wide sense, we use hashtags a lot, and they work a lot. So the hashtag for Black Lives Matter, follow that. A lot more information that I can put out now through that hashtag on any site, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Tumblr,
I'll just throw out a plug for Middle East Peace and Prosperity Alliance. We are having an event next Thursday at 7 o'clock, and it's going to be a panel about ISIS and the creation of ISIS, and also like the different factors that are involved with ISIS. And it's going to be having a couple of professors from DMAC and Drake come talk about their experiences and their knowledge on the
Will that one be at Drake?
Yes, it'll be at Drake in Upper Olmsted.
What time?
At 7 o'clock.
Oh yeah, I'm so on that.
Emma, do you have a Facebook event for that yet?
I think we don't have a Facebook event for that yet. But we're gonna
Yeah,
be
knock one out.
putting up some posters and stuff pretty soon. Yeah, it's gonna be the 2nd at it's actually 8 p.m. not 7. 8 p.m. not 7. Yep.
All right.
Yeah. So, does anyone else have any other questions?
Where's it? It's at 8 p.m.
8 p.m. on April 2nd in Upper Olmsted at Drake University.
And a nice round of applause for
Thank you all for coming so much. It was really great to hear all of your stories. I really enjoyed hearing your
And if any of your groups are interested in learning how to live stream any of your events, whether you want to live stream a public talk or a protest or a meeting or something like that, hit me up on Facebook and I'll be happy to come show you how to live stream.
Thank you all for coming. Refreshments.
I'm gonna keep my stream going, capture conversations. People are gonna.
What's your Facebook?
On Facebook.
We met a long time ago.
Yeah. It's a long one. Kaylin.
Kaylin.
That's Kaylynn. Lee Occupier Strain. I was an occupier.
Yeah, I remember. And then Strain, STRAIN.
Yep, last time I checked.
Okay. That's it?
Yep, that's on Facebook. My Twitter is at STRAINSOP. STRAINSOP. And that's my main Twitter. I actually have another with another email address, IAGMO right number 2 no for anything GMO. I haven't tweeted off of that lately, but when it comes to the World Food Prize, Monsanto, Occupy the World Food Prize, that's when you really get hot and heavy on that. You're welcome.
We don't miss anything. It's in there somewhere. It's in there somewhere. It's like a treasure map. This is good. Okay, well, you think it's we should do that.
Wow. People are just. That one on her phone, so she's spreading some stuff. Hello.
My favorite people in the whole world on this panel. I was just like snapping photos.
Yeah. Hey, do you ever work with any of the non-Latino immigrants, such as the Africans, the Arabs, or the Asians, in some of your stuff? Because they're dreamers too. They've come as children also. I know a lot of Somalis at my mosque, and many of them came as children, especially the younger ones. So they need to know about this kind of thing too. Do you ever work with them?
Well, I work for AFAC for legal services, and I do get to interact with them, but I haven't really done much work with them. And it's all about experimenting.
Yeah, but just want to let you know that there's another underserved group as well.
Exactly. I will keep that in mind.
That thing about ISIS, that is definitely going to be one worth recording. I'm going to nip a cookie.
I'm going to try to be there.
Excuse me, Caleb.
Hi, how are you?
Oh, pretty good.
Yeah, they impressive people. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Fantastic. How are you? Nice job.
Can we get a group photo before you go?
Nice idea.
Would you agree?
One of the organizers just asked for a group picture of the 5 speakers.
Where do you put it up? Where do you live stream it?
I go to my Ustream channel,
Yeah.
And then another live channel on livestream.com has picked up my feed and rebroadcasted it.
Oh, yay! Okay, so how will I find this?
On
today's
Ustream,
event?
it's if the event page is still up later, I'll post a link to my Ustream channel page. But
Okay.
so it's Ustream, USTREAM .tv /channel /the hyphen occupied hyphen tent. Yeah, you know, an occupier, I wouldn't have to do that.
You love it, Kaylin. It's
Yeah.
great.
You know, it's my unique thing.
We love it, yeah.
And of course, my profile picture is a cat.
I have this image like this. It's just not even a person. It's like it was like a shadow off my glass. It was so
Yep. You're welcome.
Immigration work. So through Ricky Vasquez, she came to me and Jeffrey, and I just latched onto her and vice versa. So it was.
I got some while they were talking.
I don't live far from you.
We live like 4 minutes away.
So we
Small world.
now you can see me hug because I'm standing up. I'm not being like. That's how that goes in my world. I'm like, oh, nice meeting you. Oh, good. He's great. You know, I hadn't been down here. I'd seen like the papers for it and heard tons about it, but I had actually not seen it.
Yeah, I was in here. Yeah. I was only in here for the Palestine, that group that was here.
So then they were kind of homeless for a little while. And they were we can get more.
And I was saying Patrick teaches down here.
The student moderator got in the group for their second group picture, so I wanted to just get a little still of that. Not literally a still, but just hold on for a little bit.
Yeah, so great project. On top of it, I love going to learn for the just because I took piano for 8 years. And I still can't read music. My mom was like, what have I done? What little money we had in the three of you, and look what's happened. No three of you can even read music. The drums kind of from last week.
Yes, I don't read music, but my problem with the piano was the hands are different speed.
Oh yeah.
So it was like getting them to coordinate was not, it didn't work.
The way I see it is, you know, I was born with a bum eyes, so I don't drive, but you know, I've always told people, you know, not everybody can do the same thing. You know, there are different people for different things, you know, and you know, even Christians say, you know, there are different gifts but the same giver. Yeah, and I believe that as a Muslim. You know, we are called to do different things, and so, you know, you do your thing, he does his thing, he does his thing, I do mine. And I throw a little first aid in the mix once in a while. Yeah, I had the first aid tent. I maintained that at the park when we occupied Stewart Square. Yeah. Oh yeah, that was some fun times. You know, I'd do that again in a nanosecond. Yeah, I would. I got a new tent too. Oh yeah.
We need products.
well,
Get cool T-shirts or something. The right stone because we do
actually,
right
you, actually, if you go to Raygun, and if you say you want to do a shirt for like a fundraiser or something, like some people just went and bought black shirts and did, the Palestine shirts.
Yeah, those
with
were
this.
great. Those were great shirts from the summer, last summer.
Yeah, and they just did that themselves. And but if you want to do a mass quantity like Occupy Des Moines did,
oh yeah.
or I don't know where CCI gets their shirts from, but if you go to a source like Raygun, you create your design and you tell them what you want, what your budget is, and see if they'll knock you a deal.
Oh, hey. How do you spell that?
Raygun. They're in the East Village.
Oh, okay.
You know what
I live in Omaha.
Well, one of these, someone will have to take you there and show you.
Yes, I have to go. I'm in Des Moines like once a week, twice a week. Like this week I'll be here twice a week. Other than that.
But if you got some extra time, get someone to take you over to Raygun, and you can just look around their store and see what kind of shirts they do, and talk to someone about maybe doing a deal.
Yeah, hey, I mean, I don't have, you've been there, you know where it's at? Okay, we'll have to remember.
Or you can contact CCI, Iowa CCI, and see where do they get their shirts from, and, being an alternative if you can't do a deal with Raygun.
Are you working with the tax day rally this year? We haven't done anything. Shoot, we did it last year.
I think they are.
There's something going on.
Oh, did they? Yeah.
I think there's something online.
Co-sponsored it last year. Okay. I did anything
But
last year.
wherever it is it going to be at the Capitol, I think?
I don't know. I feel like this time last year we were in CCI
actually,
meetings
tax
every
day.
night. For the tax day stuff. But
actually, if you do it in front of the federal building.
I think we were in front of the federal building last year, were we? We did the federal building and the post office, actually. We did two.
Yeah, because people drop off their tax returns.
Yeah, that was the whole thing, yeah.
So, get going on that.
We were here last year when we did that.
Yeah, that'd be another thing to do. Just hashing out ideas for future event. And yes, there will be future events. I don't know them all, but again, I will be back here Thursday for Rabbi Rosen. That'll be a very good talk. I'm looking forward to it. I've heard him before. A couple years ago, I streamed him. And it'll be very good. Looks like some have already left if you're getting ready to leave.